rival series. So for him to come into the Vikings and see how they do here in the European rival series, well, we're about to find out. It's Veloce and the Vikings facing off here, our first match of the European rival series. Kickoff immediately in favor of the Vikings. Pondex doesn't get the touch. Here's Flame now to the midfield. He's got Freaky. Lots of space and a shot on target. Maestro able to turn that one away and immediately put downfield. The Vikings trying to find some sort of pressure. A lot of space in the midfield. Here's one going off the back wall. Uncontested. Flame a little bit late to that one. Maestro lets that one to his own corner and cleared back for the Vikings.
And we've actually seen a couple of those situations already, actually on both teams' favor. We saw Veloce with an early shot on, and it was just a pass, nice pass in the midfield. Lots of respect on both sides of the ball so far, and can you blame them?
Mummy Snow, a big miss, and this one's going to roll into the back of the net, goes in for Freaky, and Veloce's on the board first.
And I mean, that's really the story of the entire play. Mummy Snow has to make this touch right here. Just a huge misplay altogether, and Freaky obviously going to take advantage of that one. So honestly, I mean, that's just...
It's a big miss. It's just a big miss. You cannot afford those mistakes here in the rival series. And a player like Freaky, we had mentioned it, leading goal participation here for Veloce last season. He comes through and strikes immediately on stream, and maybe another chance as that one goes high. Freaky still trying to keep this one alive. The Vikings not able to find it out of their own end yet, but here's Flame to the mid. Niels Cook's there, met by a Vikings defender, and Flame just pushing this one by. And so for Vikings now, how do you respond back? You give up an early goal off of a bad mistake, and they're feeling a lot of pressure so far from Veloce. How do you get control of this game? So far, complete control from Veloce.
We've seen a lot of just booming clears, honestly, from the Vikings so far, and I really don't feel like that's the key. Just trying to find a foothold at the moment, and I mean, you can tell. You're talking about the Veloce pressure, and they really do seem comfortable on the orange half of the field. So my key for them is just get out on the offense. Show us what you can do.
Well, here's Mummy Snow trying to show us what he can do, and he's done this so much on stream, just finding open shots and taking advantage of the space he's given. That's a free goal for Mummy Snow.
Yeah, nobody back here for Veloce, and of course he's going to take advantage of that one, obviously. You know, making up for his little whiff he had earlier on, so nothing doing there. But again, Veloce, you know, kind of playing a little bit far up on the midfield line there. Gave him that opportunity in the first place, and I appreciate they're trying to get the passes set up, but you got to be careful.
So the Vikings respond just a minute, or just under a minute after giving up their first goal. Here's Maestro giving that ball away, but Mummy Snow makes up for it on the back wall. Down to Pondex. Freaky trying to gain control here for Veloce. That's a shot on target, but easily saved away there by Maestro. Veloce still pushing on a lot of pressure here onto the Vikings half. Now Niels Cook turned away by Mummy. So this one's going off the back wall. It's a clear to the corner here. And again, Freaky and Veloce putting on the pressure. A lot of poor clears coming out from the Vikings that are going straight to Veloce players. They're even clearing it backwards. Mummy Snow able to get out.
Yeah, but one of the key things you have to realize is even though they're not making the best clears, at least they're getting a hand on the ball, which was restricting Veloce. That one off the crossbar and away, seemingly out of nowhere. And I guess a quality offense for the Vikings. They're going to back off rather quickly on that one, though. And I will say, defensive-minded game, not necessarily bad news, but you got to be careful. There's Niels Cook just barely kept away.
Yeah, it feels like Veloce just knocking on the door here at this point. That's a big and welcome clear for the Vikings, trying to get some sort of breathing room, but immediately turned back downfield. Great touch from Flame to push that one on. And Veloce feel like a matter of time before they find the back of the net once more. Niels Cook now not able to put that one towards the mid. Another missed touch comes out from the Vikings, made up for by Maestro into the midfield, and Freaky and Flame able to push this one out. A shot just high as the Vikings finally find some sort of offense, but the midfield's given up once more. It's Pondex. Not the best touch and no one there to meet it. Actually dunked away by Maestro, so in the end it works out for them as Vikings are slowly starting to put on the pressure here and getting a little bit more control than we've seen, as Veloce has just had a vice grip on the offensive third.
Yeah, this offense definitely feels very vital for the Vikings. In terms of shots, they're actually outmatching their opponents, but you can just tell the ball has spent so much time on the orange half of the field that Veloce have been able to do whatever they really want in the midfield. This is the first time they're really thinking to themselves, we got to play some significant defense.
While a lot of pressure has come out from Veloce, it seems like Vikings have slowly started to adapt to their opponents, getting a lot more control. And here's Pondex, turned away by Niels Cook, but Vikings a lot more space. You can see free clears coming out from Maestro. That's a nice one to the back wall. Freaky forced to go up for it. A pass comes down, nobody there from the Vikings, and here comes Veloce back the other way. Mummy Snow's forced to go up. A follow-up there from Freaky and Flame now. Maybe a second touch, just miss as Niels Cook comes through and dunked away by Maestro. So 30 seconds remaining and a tie game here between these two teams, and really we feel like we wouldn't have it any other way. A shot comes out from Niels Cook, and a little bit of an unsafe clear comes out from Vikings in the end, able to transition onto offense.
It does feel like Veloce, you know, they're having a lot of pressure in the offensive end. They're having a good field presence. They're making passing plays, but they don't just want to make that final commit. And they're giving that respect to Vikings that they really deserve after taking that one goal against. So a good adaptation in the first game. Are we going to see an end of regulation here?
They're going to keep it up. Freaky says go. Down the field into the corner. He actually had an opportunity to make something dangerous, but thought the last defender wasn't going to miss his touch. Into overtime for game number 1 between Veloce and Vikings. We've got many more games to come between these two, and it seems to be after the initial attacks from Veloce, Vikings have really started to find their footing. Here's one across the net. Maestro not able to find a teammate as Mummy Snow went in for the bump. And here comes Freaky, a player to watch for Veloce as Maestro breaks that one up. He's got Mummy Snow in the midfield. Tries to drop this one down for a teammate, but can't get a hold of it. Had low boost as well. And Veloce throwing the ball down the field, and a lot more space now for Vikings to work with. Maestro trying to get a touch on that one. Back to the Vikings corner.
It really does feel like Veloce are starting to, you know, it seems like a bit of a role reversal where Veloce are desperately trying to get into the offensive end now. It's been a slow burn for the Vikings, but you can definitely tell it's paying dividends. A nice opportunity there from Flame, but couldn't make anything with it.
And Veloce are finding players downfield. You can see Niels Cook here looking for the pass, trying to play that one off the ceiling, but the Vikings have just been throwing the ball down the field and hoping it sticks. Here's another one from Mummy Snow that's turned away by Freaky, and maybe an opportunity as he does get a touch. Niels Cook forced to go up. It's the last defender for Veloce. The shot comes down from Pondex, and Freaky able to save that one away. So a little bit scary there for Veloce, but still able to get out. Here's Pondex once more. The shot on target, it goes in, and Vikings take game number 1.
And finally, with this continued offensive pressure, they're able to just blast it downfield as many times as they need. They felt so comfortable during this game, and they finally find that little gap that they need. Veloce, of course, that first goal against was a little bit of an open net. That second goal against, it wasn't quite as open. You could see Niels trying to make a challenge there, but just wasn't in time.
And you said it was kind of a slow burn for the Vikings. It was a slow start, definitely coming out. Veloce were all over them. But halfway through this game, you could see space started to open up. They had a lot more time to work with. They got control of their boosts in their backfield, especially on defense for so long. They got control of their back boosts and were able to push down the field. And I mentioned that it felt like they were kind of throwing the ball down the field. But in the end, if Veloce can't deal with it, it works.
Yeah, I mean, you know, lots of people say, like, oh, you can't just throw the ball downfield. You got to find teammates. Well, not if you can get goals on the transition, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. But, I mean, that's really the story for the Vikings. When we first started this game, we had Veloce and the Vikings both kind of, like, alternating between who had midfield presence. And then, you know, in the end, it just went the Vikings' way. They started to take more control of the situation. And I did notice, in the first half, Veloce, you know, they started moving out on the offense a little bit more. But the Vikings are ready. They dealt with it rather handily, and there were a couple of odd spots here and there, but they managed to pull it out in the end.
Right, and quality clears come out for Vikings as well, and that's really what led to a lot more pressure coming out for them in ball control in the final third. And for Veloce, I think it's just missed chances. They had a lot of chances in the beginning of the game that they couldn't convert. They could only put one away, and it was a freaky unassisted goal in the first 45 seconds. So for Veloce, with all that pressure, with all that time in the final third, you've got to find the back of the net more than once here as we get into game number 2. Vikings up 1-0 in the series, and so far, at least in that second half of the game, Vikings have looked much better. Find out if they can carry that into game number 2. As immediately Veloce get control of the kickoff here. Niels Cook goes up to challenge. Trying to keep Vikings immediately locked into their own half. Riki, not the best touch down to his teammates. And here's Maestro forcing the 50-50 at midfield. The Vikings finally break out. So in the first 20 seconds, Vikings getting some sort of control here. Mummy Snow not able to follow that one up. Here's Pondex now. just lobbing the ball away, not letting anything out from Veloce as they do break out here. Flame able to push it downfield. That's a shot from Niels Cook, but turned away by Maestro, linking up now with Pondex. Actually opts to just go past him here. So for the Vikings, already finding themselves on the back foot. Some poor clears already have led to some pressure coming out from Veloce. Here's Freaky now. A couple stops come through for Mummy Snow, and Vikings slowly but surely fight out of their own end.
And it did feel like a little bit of a scramble there for a second, but they did manage it in the end. And I noticed from both teams so far, lots of respect in Veloce's case, playing a player defensively in the midfield. Great bump there, but the shot just off target. And Vikings, they're coming out strong, per usual. You mentioned it earlier.
So a missed opportunity there for Veloce. This one shot down, turned away by Niels Cook. That one was on target. Great save coming out from him, and Flame forced to clear this one backwards. Pondex opts to keep this one alive. Now Maestro's forced to go up. Vikings trying to put on the pressure here. This one's off the backboard. Mummy Snow, does he have to? He does, but it's not on target. And here comes Pondex. The Vikings threatening. A couple shots on target. Here's Mummy Snow, not able to get the second touch. Force Freaky to go up. Here's Maestro now. Leaves way for Pondex off the back wall. Mummy Snow actually goes for that one. Not able to connect, and not the best touch from Maestro, but still able to deal with it nicely, but just put over Pondex's head. Mummy Snow keeping the Vikings alive. We're seeing a lot more pressure coming out from the Vikings now. A lot more control as well. It feels like Veloce get one touch and it's straight back into a Vikings player's possession. This ball just bouncing in the midfield now. Vikings have really started to turn it on here. And while they haven't really translated into many shots, it's just the pressure and control that we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm noticing that the Vikings right now seem to be playing like a man-on style of play where they're kind of reacting to what their opponents are doing. They're just going to say, okay, you can get a hit on that one. Oh, what a great touch there. Maestro off the crossbar, though. And
Mummy Snow faking the touch coming down. He had the boost to do it, but lets it just drop, and that threw off the defense of Veloce here. Still tied up. There's only been 2 shots from the Vikings after their stay here in the final third. Still keeping it along here are the Vikings, and another chance for Mummy Snow. Here's Pondex now. The pressure just mounting, and it feels like the reverse story of last game where a lot of opportunity, a lot of control, but just not finishing. As another one's put to the Veloce corner, really not that dangerous if you're on the Veloce side.
Yeah, I mean, you said this is kind of a copy of last game, save for a couple of bump attempts, but it still just feels like the Vikings have had so much more possession than Veloce ever did in game number 1. They're finally going to push out a little bit here, grab some boost, and reset. But for the Vikings, they've been doing such a good job of just letting Veloce try and move out of their own half and just keeping it straight in.
And Veloce just have not been able to get control in this game here. Freaky trying to make that change, as that's not a bad pass across. Here comes the drop down, not able to put it away. Maestro gets in front of that one. The long clear comes out. You got to link up here from Mummy Snow as immediately transition downfield. That's not a bad attempt there from Niels Cook as Flame pushes this one out towards the midfield. Freaky, can he drop it down? Maybe twice? No. Veloce, the best opportunity they've had all game, and they can't convert.
I like the idea, though. I mean, going for that aggressive play alone, we've seen Flame and Freaky do it so often. And Niels Cook, obviously, he's been able to do it as well. Now play up to the backboard. Again, shot from Freaky will be turned away.
So a close call again for the Vikings. And it feels like while they've had pressure, you give up a couple more of those opportunities, and Veloce will finally convert. But still a tie game after everything that we've said, Squid. It's still a tie game between these two teams, and it feels like now Veloce have at least had their opportunity to score. Maybe one more here as this one's turned away by Maestro as Niels Cook on the shot. Not perfectly placed. Another opportunity. Here's Freaky. Pondex gets in the way of that one. Maestro just trying to buy time for his teammates, but it's for nothing as Niels Cook might have the last say here. 10 seconds left on the clock. Freaky trying to score a last-second goal, and it's Maestro who pushes it down the field. So the Vikings might have the last say. Maestro's up off the backboard, and nobody's there from the Vikings. Another overtime.
And I'm liking what I saw from Veloce coming out in that last half. They played defense all game long, but you could tell when they had their turn to play offense, they were ready for it. They were on the ball every single time, pushing it towards the goal line. It looks like they might start out on offense again.
And Veloce, the shot goes halfway in the net. Maestro able to turn that one away. Vikings, scary opportunities coming from Veloce. Here's Maestro using all of his boost. Actually, 2 go now. This is dangerous for the Vikings as Veloce sees their time to strike. Not able to put it on target. A pass across to Niels Cook to the back of the net. Beautifully placed. Beautiful pass. And Veloce take game 2.
And as soon as I saw this pass going into the midfield, I knew that was it. Niels is obviously going to be waiting for that one. He's so good about being in position for that one. I mentioned Veloce, they were prepared to play on the attack when their opportunity finally came. And when it moved to overtime, they were just going to take that momentum and ride it straight through to the end. And ride it they did. Fantastic passing play in the midfield, making use of that space.
And I want to say that it feels like what we said last game, but now in for Vikings. They had a ton of opportunity, and they just couldn't convert, and Veloce started to knock on the door a little bit more in the end of Game 2, and all of a sudden, you let them have a couple more chances, and Veloce convert, and that's exactly what they did. And so for Vikings now, it's about all the opportunity that they had that they couldn't capitalize on is what really came back to hurt them in this game.
Yeah, and for Veloce, it felt like, okay, we've seen them playing a lot of defense in game number 1, and they were dealing with it rather well. So this game, we're just going to play a ton of defense and then surprise them with a blitzkrieg offense right at the end of regulation and then hammer them in overtime if it needs be, and they did that exactly as needed. So some good stuff overall, but as you mentioned, for the Vikings, it's all about that offensive strength. They were playing reactionary. They were letting the opponents hit the ball right to them and then just put it right back in the midfield, but never really amounted to anything.
Well, they were playing reactionary definitely in that last half of the game. I felt like in the first half, minus the kickoff, they were in full control and they had shot opportunities, and it was just the Veloce defense that were really starting to turn them away. And then finally the offense turned on for Veloce. So now here is the game breaker. Game number 3 between these two teams. What do we have in store? It's been 2 overtimes, 2 close games. And for Veloce, on the winning end of game number 2, a 1-1 series between these two teams. As we get into game number 3, the Vikings able to get control off the kickoff into the Veloce side. Here's Niels Cook. Freaky on his own end. It's straight out off the backboard. Flames got to get up for this one. Met by a Vikings attacker there in Mummy Snow. And still the pressure on coming from Vikings. So right back to game number 2 here. But can they convert? Here's Pondex, but with not a lot of boost. Flame pushes that one away. Here comes Veloce, their first chance on offense. It's a weak clear to the corner, but cleaned up by the Vikings defense. Veloce, lots of time and space. Freaky, pass out to Niels Cook, looking for the backboard, immediately met by Maestro. Flame, again, tries to find the backboard. Maestro has just been a monster there, not letting anything go by.
Yeah, he's been a force on the defense. Really, you could say that for all their players. They've had some weak clears, certainly, but defending that backboard is incredibly important, especially when you're playing against Veloce. They seem to make use of that backboard like it's just, they love it like ice cream. But they've been able to deal with it rather effectively.
So the Vikings have an opportunity here. The dribble on Maestro. Veloce defenders immediately pounce on top of that one. Mummy Snow, a poor clear. Now Maestro on the dribble once more, tries to find a teammate. He does, and beans it to the back of the net. Mummy Snow with a fantastic shot, and the Vikings up by 1.
You could see the gleam in their eyes as they went for this play. Maestro getting that first touch. You could tell he had so much control, and with that little bit of space that Veloce gave him, he had Mummy Snow in his rearview mirror. Or I suppose not necessarily in his rearview. He wasn't behind him. You get the idea. Mummy Snow was right there. He knew exactly what was going on, and a great connection overall.
So a hard shot and a hard-fought goal here for Vikings in the first minute and a half. Veloce looking to respond. Off the kickoff, not able to. Flame beat to the ball. Veloce back on defense. Here's Freaky. Pushing this one out. Flame once more. Easy clear here for Mummy Snow, and it's Pondex downfield for the Vikings. Trying to get a 2-goal lead, but Freaky knocks that one down. A tough save from Maestro. The follow-up comes through from Niels Cook. Looks for the pass. Freaky once more, and he puts it away. A high IQ pass coming out from Niels Cook.
Yeah, this is incredibly good vision from Niels Cook. Any regular player would see that and say, okay, I got to take a shot on the net. There are 2 guys there. What do I do? Not Niels. He does not panic in that situation. He sees Freaky still playable across the field and makes an absolutely outstanding pass over there just underneath the crossbar. Great way to tie up.
A beautiful goal coming out from Veloce, and that's how you respond with a nice passing play, a combination play at the top of the box. Veloce maybe trying to find some sort of momentum here in Game 3 as we are tied up in this series. Mummy Snow This one's going to be high. It's Flame able to meet it. Not able to follow it up, though, as Veloce struggled to get a hold of that ball after the initial touch. Great bump coming out from Flame as he prevents Maestro from going up and puts the Vikings back on defense. Here's the pass down from Niels Cook off the crossbar, but it's saved by Maestro. Still the attack on for Veloce, and they can't put it away.
And how do you make these reads, Maestro? I mean, obviously he had to go up for that one. They could have been underneath the crossbar, but even so, he still got the save even if it was off the crossbar. Here's Niels, gonna send it away. Mummy Snow, obviously like nothing he can do on that lower line right there. He just has to watch in absolute agony as Niels Cook's just gonna make the play himself.
And it comes straight down. That's a tough read coming out from Mummy Snow, and Niels Cook could read it all the way through, puts it away, and Veloce now up by 1.
Just past the half as well. It's been a back and forth game once again. Great passing plays coming out from both sides. Of course, Niels Cook made that last play by himself, and Flame looking to do the same, and he will actually.
They just let him do it.
Poor 50-50 from Maestro, I must say.
So look at all the time Flame has here. He controls his boost, and then he just kind of sits on it, and he waits for the Viking defenders to think about it for a second, and then he turns back on the boost, and he puts it right over their head, and it pinches to the goal.
Maestro's been so solid on the defensive line. It's kind of outlandish that he would make such a play as that one. Obviously, you know it's difficult. Flame's going to get a free one off the kickoff. This is not what we were looking for. We've had 1-goal games in games 1 and 2, and now Veloce just running away.
And all of the sudden, Veloce really starting to open things up, and it's off the back of Flame. He's been a part of the last 3 goals, getting the last 2 for himself. Now a 4-1 scoreline for Veloce, and it's come off of a couple kickoffs. See if one more can go in favor, or maybe the Vikings can respond, and they do have time here with 1 minute and 50 seconds left, but they've really got to go. Pondex not able to follow that one up, and Veloce now can just sit on their lead comfortably, a 3-goal cushion. The pressure is on the Vikings. There's a shot down just off the target. Vikings still cannot convert. They've had chances, 4 shots coming through. Here's an open net as Flame just barely gets to it. The shot was too weak from the Vikings. Everyone was beat on Veloce. And Freaky has an open net back the other way, and all of a sudden the defense for Vikings seems to just be falling apart.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I would argue that, you know, that wasn't necessarily the defense falling apart, as, you know, everyone just dove at that one. We saw a double commit for that completely open net that they weren't even able to convert on. That is a sign that the Vikings are starting to panic a little bit. Honestly, though, can you blame them? They got a 4-goal deficit now. Things not looking up so far, but Veloce, for them, it is looking up. A great demo right there. Niels Cook can't get it through, but there will still be opportunity on the horizon.
1 minute left for the Vikings. And it's looking bleak. Maestro, he's had a couple dribbles, not able to convert on any of them so far. It's time ticking down. The Vikings know their time could be up here in game number 3. And it feels like after a close couple 2 games for Vikings, this one they kind of got out of their system now. You know, they give up almost 5 straight goals here in the last 2 minutes. And that one's going to drop away from Mummy Snow all of a sudden. The Vikings have maybe a sign of life here as Pondex and Mummy Snow able to find the back of the net. It's really just Mummy Snow throwing it down the field and Niels Cook missing the touch there. And so for the Vikings, they got 36 seconds to score 3 goals.
Yeah, of course, they got a pulse. I'm not exactly certain how long that's going to last, though. Obviously, 3-goal deficit, still not the greatest, and you can tell that they've already scrambled a little bit this game, so they're probably just going to try and look forward to the next game, unless they can pull one off there. Did get blocked away by Freaky rather easily. But Veloce with so much control, and honestly, I feel like it was more of just like a simple mistake from the Vikings led to them kind of breaking down personally, especially that one air drag that Flame was able to score past Meister. I feel like that was really the turning point for me.
Yeah, and it feels like for Veloce now, a sign of confidence as time's just going to tick down here. We can see Veloce in a comfortable lead and playing a lot more defensive, just not letting anything come through from the Vikings. That one's going to drop, and game number 3 is going to go in favor of Veloce. Now on series point, Veloce, who have started off 2-0 in the European Rival Series, a big win could come over the Vikings here if they take Game 4.
And obviously the Vikings having relegated from the RLCS, this would be a massive win to take. And obviously we're talking about if they win this match, then they're going to be front runners in the Rival Series. So good stuff overall, and I have to highlight the passing plays. We didn't see too much of it in games 1 and 2. Felt like they were trying to play a little bit more solo, which Flame and Freaky are obviously very adept at. Niels Cook can get his word in edgeways as well in that that category. But overall, the vision was just fantastic. I love to see that. That's what really gave them the edge. I feel like they could have outscored the Vikings with just purely passing plays. They didn't necessarily need the open net. They didn't need the air drag to just get past Maestro somehow. You know, it happens sometimes.
Right.
But, you know, for Vikings, clean it up a little bit on the defense. They shouldn't have too much of a problem. But now that Veloce is making passes, you got to start worrying about that.
Well, I really want to dive deep here into the Vikings and talk about exactly what went wrong, because it feels like a couple goals that go in and all of a sudden the confidence goes down, the patience on defense goes away. Those felt a little bit rushed afterwards. That led to a couple more goals, and you let Flame run all over you. So now how do you respond back in game number 4?
With lots of force, I think, is the answer. I mean, I don't want to see them break down, obviously, on defense. That was the real killer for them. But, I mean, this is really the only way you can get back into this one, is making sure that you're playing solid on offense. And honestly, I don't know. Usually after you see a team break down like that on defense, it's a big journey to get back into your solid mindset.
Changes have to be made for Vikings here in game number 4 if they want to stay alive in this series. Niels Cook almost immediately having an opportunity. Veloce back to business. This one off the backboard. Flame just barely saved by Maestro. And the Vikings feeling that pressure once more. The dunk by Niels Cook. Can he put it away, actually? Mummy Snow tied up around him. Still the pressure on. This one's finally cleared away by the Vikings. Here's Niels Cook. Over 1. It's Pondex in the back for the clear. Freaky done such a good job of controlling that midfield, and every clear that the Vikings have had been met by Freaky. Almost has another great shot from a wonderful pass. Veloce really finding each other in the midfield.
Yeah, we were talking about how much of a threat that was last game, at least in the middle of that match. And so watching the Vikings try and play that pass defense right now, they're keeping it solid. They're keeping the ball pushed to the midfield line, but slowly their boost is going to start dwindling as Veloce steadily move downfield.
A double commit comes out from both sides, from Veloce and Vikings. Pondex forced to clear this one laterally. Mummy Snow backflips to not push that ball away and give up possession. He left it for Pondex, but Flame picks it up. Now going for the flip reset. He does get it, but not enough power to scoop that ball over the last defender. Maestro was there, but Vikings still feeling the pressure. Freaky just delaying the clear. Maestro forced to respect for Freaky. Still another double commit comes out from Vikings. Disorganized defense starting to show, and Veloce slowly starting to clamp down.
And you could tell Flame going for that flip reset, starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. And of course, putting on so much pressure by yourself gives your teammates a lot of time to get set up for a potential passing play or make a play off of the clear. So now for Vikings, you know, you mentioned it, they're starting to get a little bit more disorganized on defense again, and you hate to see that, but that's just the sad truth at the moment.
And Flame not able to put that one down either. That pinch, if it was a little bit harder, might have slipped by Niels Cook in the end. With 0 boosts, trying to collect the ball and the boost here. Accidentally gives it up. And Veloce starting to feel a little bit of pressure from the Vikings. That's not the best clear from Flame. Freaky and Niels Cook both forced to go up for that one. Only Mummy Snow went for that one on the Vikings.
And really, I mean, you think about that. Vikings had a good opportunity there. That double commit, they had some people in the midfield. They could have gone for it, but they just left Mummy Snow up there a little bit. Kind of cold feet, trying to move out onto the offense, something they'll desperately need. A great demo, though, from Niels Cook. Takes out Maestro. No potential for a counter there.
And here comes Freaky. Immediately transitions downfield. That's a hard shot. Turned away by Niels Cook. So still a 0-0 game between these two teams. They've really, aside from the last game, have been evenly matched. That one's going to be saved by Freaky. The follow-up from Maestro goes in, and Vikings finally get on the board.
Such a good shot here from Pondex. Forcing 2 defenders to go up is really the key of this entire play. Niels Cook and Freaky both up for that ball. Left nobody on the goal line that was actionable for that shot. And of course, Maestro, he's got that world champion tag for a reason. He didn't get to play at the LAN, but he definitely showed his worth in the regular season, and he's showing it right here.
So Vikings strike first. A much-needed goal here in Game 4 as Veloce still sit scoreless. Another shot might drop, and it does for Maestro. The Vikings now building upon their lead.
And Veloce really paying their dues for that one, getting a little bit aggressive with the passing plays, and Mummy Snow is going to cut you off if you try and do that one in a great transition as well. He not only cut off the passing lane, but created one of his own, found Maestro, and an excellent play overall for the Vikings. Their defense looks to be taking advantage of Veloce kind of getting comfortable in the offensive half.
So Vikings trying to force a game 5 here but against Veloce. And for Veloce now, you start to wonder, those missed opportunities, those chances, the control that they've had in the final third not paying off once more as Vikings find another one, and once again, it's Maestro for the hat trick.
Well, I think Maestro was looking at this one saying, all right, let's just get a solid 50-50 and keep it in the blue half. And little did he know he was going to end up finding the back of the net, because that one crossing the goal line was not something I think anybody really expected. Of course, Flame, I think, least going up for that one, but the fact remains, Vikings have a 3-0 lead, and they're looking a lot more confident. I have to say, I'm proud of that transition because they were doing really poorly on the defense at the end of last match, but they turned it right around.
And the bump comes out, and Niels Cook able to follow up and put it away. Veloce not going to go silently.
80 seconds left, though, and that's the key. A nice pass from Freaky, I'll give him that, and you mentioned the bump from Flame, so really a 3-man play for Veloce. That's the way you want to try and get back into a match, but is it a little bit too late in this series, or sorry, this game at the very least? Vikings with that 3-1 lead, maybe they're starting to pick up their confidence a little bit.
Well, they need 2 goals here in a minute and 15. Absolutely doable here for Veloce. And they've putting on the pressure to do it. Freaky might be the one to lead them as that one's turned away. The demo comes on from Pondex. The shot goes in from Niels Cook, and Veloce are within 1.
And you like this passing play again. Veloce starting to just get a little bit more comfortable in the offensive end. This is not the first time we've seen a quality pass. This time it's Flame finding Niels Cook scoring once again. And great placement on that one. Forced the defenders to scramble. Didn't look like it was in, but hey, you don't really care about how the ball went in. It's just that it happened.
I gotta say, Niels Cook really having himself a series here. The shots that we've seen from him and the passing have really led Veloce to this point, and maybe one more. Flame set up by who else but Niels Cook. A 3-3 game here in game 4.
Why did I ever doubt Veloce in the first place? A great pass, finding that real estate on the backboard, and I mentioned this earlier, Veloce will eat up that backboard like ice cream, and oh my goodness, you miss it the one time and you just missed the entire play.
28 seconds for Veloce, and 3 goals is all it took to catch back up to Vikings. That took 4 minutes for them to build this 3-goal lead. So now the question goes back to Vikings. How do they respond after giving up 3 goals in 30 seconds? That's a shot that just goes wide. It bounces off of Mummy Snow's car into his own corner. 30 seconds left now. Veloce looking to strike and put this series away. Niels Cook over to Flame. He might have an opportunity here with some boost. He's got Freaky in the midfield, but he pinches this one away. Still opportunity for Flame as he's met. And now Pondex turns away Freaky's shot, but Veloce might have the last say here as we're into the final 10. Not the best clear from Maestros, goes straight to Freaky. Turned away by the Vikings. This one in the midfield, it's just gonna drop. Actually kept up and still up for the Vikings. Niels Cook's got to deal with this one now, trying to drop that one down and kill it. We will have overtime in game number 4.
And honestly, this is a great reset for the Vikings. You could tell there was a lot of pressure against them in that last half, especially with Veloce scoring 3 unanswered goals. So that's definitely good. But now the Vikings facing a little bit of a drought potentially, and Veloce feeling good about that last half. This is dangerous stuff.
Yeah, a drought by Veloce standards at this point in this game, as they have slowed down their scoring spree here. Here's Niels Cook and the follow-up for the Vikings here as Freaky's forced to go into the challenge. 2 from the Vikings waiting for the clear. Niels Cook does well to keep possession there, and a shot comes out off the back wall. All of Vikings there to see it and turn it away. Freaky once again in the midfield, doing a great job of keeping Veloce in it. And a long clear comes out from Niels Cook. The Vikings back and forth between these two teams right now in overtime. Just under the first minute here as a long clear comes out. Freaky forced to deal with that one. So Vikings just kind of testing the water right now, seeing what Veloce will give them. And that's a long clear. It's up to Freaky. He's got to make the save. He does. Pondex was there for Vikings. Now Flame. Not a lot of support on the right side of the field there. Turned away by Vikings once more. Freaky. The pass out to Flame. Veloce looking to strike. Not the best clear coming out from Mummy Snow as it does get overrun, but he does recover. Niels Cook's there. An opportunity here for Veloce. That one drops in front. Freaky not able to get there fast enough, and Pondex clears it away. So Veloce starting to show some teeth here in overtime. Freaky into his own corner.
Yeah, Veloce, they're starting to show their teeth, but watch out for the Vikings, because there you go. That's Mama Snow getting the pass from Maestro. I was literally just about to start talking about how Vikings were starting to get, they were more comfortable in defense. They were slowing down Veloce where they weren't able to in regulation, and they were starting to make passes upfield. That is the pinnacle of what I was talking about in that instance. They finally managed to say, okay, all right, Veloce, you guys had a good scoring spree. Well, we're going to have to stop you right there. We're not going to just drop this game because we decided to play a little bit lax.
So the Vikings hold on. And what feels like all the momentum was on the Vikings, or excuse me, the Veloce side. After you score 3 goals in about 30 seconds, you feel like when you go into overtime, Veloce should have sealed the deal here. But Vikings, after absorbing a little bit of pressure in the first minute or so, find the opening. They put it away, and it's off the back of Maestro. He's done such a good job here in game number 4. 3 goals to his name, and of course, Mummy Snow getting that last goal for himself. But Maestro was a part of every single goal here in game 4.
Yeah, Maestro really stood out. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better with that hat trick. Obviously, there were a couple of goals that were like, oh, wow, okay. And really surprising, to be perfectly honest. But you mentioned it, Veloce going to the overtime felt like they were going to have the advantage. But I really like how the Vikings used that reset, and they said, okay, let's just take a second, step back, and think, how did we do this in regulation before Veloce started scoring? And then they just kind of reverted to that. They said, okay, hit us with your best shot. We're just going to throw it downfield and put it right back in your net.
And for Veloce now, that loss doesn't really feel that great because you make a comeback, you get to overtime, and then you drop the ball. And so for them, you feel a little bit deflated coming into Game 5. And for Vikings, it feels like they have a little bit of the momentum. Winning Game 4 and forcing Game 5, it does feel like the team who wins Game 4 has a lot more momentum going into Game 5, especially after an overtime goal.
Yeah, but with Veloce, I mean, 3 unanswered goals is nothing you can you can't really shake a stick at that. So they're going to have some momentum as well. It's really going to be a battle of the mentalities at this point. Game number 5, oh boy.
So the game to decide it all here. Veloce looking to go 3-0, and Vikings looking to get a first win on the board here as they sit 0-0 for the season. Freaky not able to get the touch there. Flame. Here's Maestro over to Mummy Snow. Vikings trying to find a goal early. They did build a nice lead early on in Game 4. Veloce then turned it around swiftly. Flame, lots of time and space here. Takes a second to look, gets the fake, over to Freaky. Can he put it away? Wonderfully done between Flame and Freaky, and Veloce on the board first.
This is a passing play, but we all know deep in our hearts that this is really just Flame showing off his 1v1 skills. What a fake to get it around the first defender, and then has Freaky across straight into the upper corner as if there was anybody else to beat. Just an overall quality play from Veloce to take the lead.
And I'm glad we got to see Flame's perspective, because you could see him gauge his time and space as he went into the corner. He could see that he could beat the last defender. He knew that Freaky was going to be on the far side. So a big heads-up play, trusting your teammates and trusting your own ability to find the first goal. Veloce does just that. Here's Freaky trying to find a second goal. Pondex turns that one away. Vikings get a little bit of breathing room. And maybe an opportunity here as the ball control was botched on the defensive side of Veloce. Here's Niels Cook. He's got Freaky down. He's going for the demo. He actually misses. And Pondex, a slow clear out. And this one's going to bounce across the box of Vikings. Not feeling any pressure from Veloce. Here's Maestro now. Goes under Niels Cook. The follow-up there. Shot from Pondex. Turned away by Freaky at the top shelf. Freaky again on the ball here. Vikings have opportunity. Here's Pondex. Now Maestro. Another opportunity turned away by Veloce, and they're able to get out.
Lots of aggression by the Vikings, though. We could tell there was one particular situation where Veloce double committed on the ball. We've seen that a couple of times from their defense so far. Not a position you want to be in. Niels Cook couldn't get the double tap there. Demos coming out from our orange team right now. The Vikings getting a little bit physical in their play. We saw it once in the net, one on the side. They're just trying to break out, see what they can do to screw up the opponents.
Maestro lucked out, missing that touch there off the crossbar, but nonetheless, Vikings still trying to hold on here. Only down by 1. Plenty of time to get back into it. Veloce trying to build upon their lead. Here's a shot now from Pondex. It seems like Pondex getting the majority of chances for Vikings here in this game so far. Maestro playing with this ball, just trying to find the space. So he does get the demo on Freaky, but the ball pitches out. Vikings still pressure on. And the bump, looking for the follow-up, not there. Too crowded for Vikings as Veloce able to get out. And Mummy Snow collects the ball into his own corner. The demo comes out, it's just Niels Cook back, and Pondex actually beats him on the demolition. The Vikings able to tie it up.
And this is just another day at the office for Pondex. Getting that first demo, though, was not. That was a very heads-up play. And then obviously with just Niels Cook to beat coming in from the side there, again, not really that difficult for Pondex. You know, he does this kind of stuff for breakfast, so they have the tie in the second half. And you mentioned that Pondex has been getting a lot of the opportunities. The demo plays definitely starting to come in handy as well. The Vikings playing a little bit unorthodox when you consider the rest of the series has been rather mechanically based.
3 shots to Pondex's name alone here for Vikings. Maestro trying to put this one across. A dangerous ball dealt with perfectly by Freaky with the backflip and beats the oncoming attacker from Vikings. Now Veloce trying to get back into the lead. Flame off the back wall. Freaky, can he put it away? He absolutely does. And Vikings Veloce take back the lead.
And he was in an awkward spot here, but Freaky does not care. A solid pass over to Flame and then back to Freaky. You can tell, again, they're great at making the solo plays. But, you know, when it comes to making passes, yeah, they can deal with it. They're plenty good enough at that one. And with a lead at 90 seconds on the clock, things are starting to look difficult for the Vikings, but they've been playing pretty well this match.
Time starting to tick down. 1 minute and 20 left for Vikings. The ball has been bouncing quite a bit on the Veloce side, but here's Flame. He just goes past everyone. Can he put it away? It's off the post. He pitches it into the back of the net, and Veloce go up by 2.
A huge decision from Maestro here. And, you know, people are going to argue, did he make the right choice there? He has to go for that ball because he's the last man to keep it in the zone. But at the same time, he had that risk. If I get beat, it's a goal against. And unfortunately, it was the latter. They have a deficit of 2 with 72 seconds.
High risk, high reward decision ends up with punishment. 1 minute left now for Vikings. Still can come back into this game. No time to panic quite yet, but they do need one quickly here. Niels Cook, long clear coming out from him. Veloce, it seems like when they build a 2-goal lead, they start to sit back a little bit more and just kind of prevent defense and not let anyone through. They don't have to score, but an open net, and it's missed by Mummy Snow, made up for by Pondex. And the Vikings, a sigh of relief to see that one go in.
Yeah, a sigh of relief for the Vikings and for myself as well. I was watching this saying, okay, that's a great demo. Now you just need to put the shot. Oh, no, that was almost a disaster. But fortunately, Pondex realized what was happening, was able to turn in on that one. And the Vikings still in this one. They have 38 seconds. We've seen them make some pretty amazing plays. The first time that Veloce Esports had a multiple goal lead, they did win it out rather significantly, but the Vikings aren't done yet.
30 seconds left. Vikings have the pressure. A big miss comes out from Niels Cook. This ball's bouncing, but nobody from the Vikings there. Finally, Maestro gets there, but it's just tapped away into the corner. The pressure still on from Vikings. They need to keep it on for the last 15 seconds. That's a great pass out to Pondex, just wide of the net, and this one cleared away. Veloce have 10 seconds to hang on. Vikings, 5 seconds left. Down the field, it's floating towards the Veloce net. Pushed down by Freaky. This ball floating into 0-second time. Niels Cook's just going to kill it. It's going to bounce up for Vikings. Maybe an opportunity to go the full length of the field here as they still keep it up. This ball's just going to drop. Nobody from Vikings there. And Veloce move on to 3-0 and take down the Vikings in a 5-game series.
Fantastic overall. And Veloce, that was almost a little bit of a nail biter at the end there. When Pondex got that doink, looked like it could have moved downfield, but Freaky did his best to make the bumps. And honestly, MVP for Veloce, just about everyone. I mean, we had plenty of good plays from every single player. Flame, Freaky, Niels Cook, all making passing plays. Niels Cook had a lot of good strikes. If I'm not mistaken, a hat trick in one game as well when we were playing on Neo Tokyo. Things just looking so good for them overall.
It is really tough to pick a player that really stood out from Veloce. You know, I'm looking at the goals here, and everyone's getting involved. It seems like Freaky and Flame had a really good day together, and I think that Niels Cook played well individually, if that makes any sense at all. It just seems like Veloce really played a fantastic Rocket League against the Vikings here, and to take them down a 5-game series, it's improvement for the Vikings. Remember, Vikings lost to Veloce 1-3 in the DreamHack Leipzig qualifier, so improvement there, but unfortunately dropping down and moving to 0-1 here in the European Rival Series.
And as I mentioned, Pondex may have just been a little bit of new blood when they played in DreamHack Leipzig, and of course they did lose that one out. They lost it out here again, a close series. And I wonder what would happen if they didn't take that 5-2 defeat in that game. I'm just curious, because we had 1-goal games every single time, except for that one match. If Vikings had showed up there, who knows what could have happened, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, we only know one timeline, and that's Veloce winning in game number 5, but we got more European Rival Series coming up. Method versus ARG, not NRG. ARG.
That would be a mix-up.
That would be interesting, but ARG versus Method, you don't want to miss it. Stay with us.